Hi everybody, we're here for the Thursday night class, Grandmaster Choice, and we're going to go over one of my games actually played here at the chess club in 2017. As you can tell from a lot of my video lessons that, most of the time I just play here, so pretty much all the games I played right here in this beautiful chess club, St. Louis. So this is the game actually against Grandmaster Baryshpolets, and it was a really nice tournament for me. I won this tournament. It was St. Louis Spring Classic Tournament. That's the year that they started doing the Classics, 2017. And this was a penultimate round. So I played d4. So my opponent is about 2600 rated Grandmaster from Ukraine, but he's a student at the Texas Tech University here. So knight f6, c4, g6. So again, we don't know the name of the opening yet. Okay, it could be Grunfeld or it could be a King's Indian defense. So we don't know the opening yet. We have to wait for the last move. Knight c3, bishop g7. Now once Baryshpolets played bishop g7, now we know the opening. It's a King's Indian defense. Knight f3, d6, e4, castles, h3. H3 idea is to control the g4 square, and to prevent bishop g4 or knight g4 ideas. Now my opponent played knight a6 here. The idea behind this move is to prepare e5 and at the right moment being able to put a knight on c5. So I go bishop e3, developing my bishop. I was expecting something like e5, but he played c6. Now he changed the play a little bit. He played c6. Now he wants to play d5. He wants to push d5. Now I played a3. Idea behind a3 is to prevent a knight from coming to b4 and get some more control here. And I was expecting the move d5. So now I want to pause here and give you some time to think for our audience here at the club and also people watching on our YouTube channel. We have a lot of people watching us. So let's pause here for a minute or two and try to understand what should white do here in this position. Black just played d5, is questioning the center, but what should we do in this position? So we have some options. Okay, we have some options here definitely, but what can we do here? Yes.
Maybe push the pawn to e5, threaten the knight as an option.
I'm sorry?
Maybe push the pawn to e5 to threaten his knight.
Well, if you do that, then he's going to go knight e4. Yeah, he's going to go knight e4.
Maybe take then on d5 with the e-pawn.
Okay. Takes. And now I need you to think of getting space. Yeah, c5. Take, c5.
Is this what was played?
Yeah, well, this is the game, yeah. That's why I played a3, because now I can always support b4. I have the c4 support option. So he goes knight e4.
Had you seen, so you bet?
Well, that's why I played a3 here. When he played c6, I already knew that he's planning to play d5 here. I knew that's what he wants to do. So that's why I played the move a3. Now he goes d5. Take. c5, and now I can play b4 here. Now I would like to play b4. Now he goes knight e4, activating the knight. Now activating the knight, and obviously black knight should be on c6 here, then he's absolutely fine, but the knight on a6 is a little bit misplaced. Okay, now what can you do?
So is he looking to take your knight on c3?
Yeah, and play b6. Yeah, he's looking to take my knight and play b6.
And you have to do something with his knight, or move your knight, or protect your knight.
Yeah.
Maybe queen to c2? No.
Well, you could go queen c2. That is a possibility. What else? What else do you think you have?
Rook to c1.
You could go rook c1, but I took on a6. Because that way, look, I'm developing, I know it's like you don't want to give out the bishop because it's a little bit more valuable, but here I'm damaging the structure and getting castle, okay? Now he takes. Take. And he takes. Now this is very interesting. Now he has weak pawns on a file, and I have a strong pass pawn here on c5. Okay, but the next move is very important. White to play here. You don't want to rush. I know you're thinking about castling. You know, you could do that, but you know you don't want to rush with it. There is no immediate danger here yet. Is there anything else you can think of here?
Can you put your rook on b1 now? Take that file.
Well, rook b1, but then you're going to run into bishop f5.
So, let's see. So if the white goal is to push that pawn eventually, give maybe something to help prepare for that.
Well, he wants to go rook b8 and get the rook into the game like that.
Yeah. Maybe bishop. Then you push it. Oh.
Oh, castle.
Oh, okay.
f6, and now he wants to play e5. What can you do?
Maybe bishop to f4.
Of course.
Okay.
Now bishop f4, now we're controlling it. So I actually thought I'd play bishop f4 first. I could have played bishop f4 here first as well, but so it was this move order. Now he goes here g5, attacking the bishop.
Okay.
Bishop g3 goes h5.
Would you ever consider go bishop to h2 instead? Is that just a bad place?
You could, but I think I like g3 a little bit better because I have some h4 ideas here. Now he played h5. He's trying to get counterplay. So he's trying to push his pawns and look for some possible counterplay. Now,
You mentioned h4. That seems.
yep. Knight e1. Now my idea is to put the knight on d3. From d3 I can also go to f4. d3 to f4 to put pressure. Now I goes here.
Would you still go to d3 tonight? Or would he, in a position like this, is it better for him to trade and get rid of your knight for his bishop?
Knight d3. Now I want to go to f4. Now goes queen d7. I mean, if takes queen d3, a6 is hanging, and a lot of weaknesses. So that's why he didn't want that. So he played queen d7. Yes?
Well, knight f4.
Well, I could play knight f4. I just want to get a rook into the game because it's an open file, you know. Knight f4 is good too. Now I play bishop e4. Now he goes bishop e4. Rook takes e4. Okay, this was not sure if it was completely necessary, but I think it's very interesting sacrifice. So we take, he takes, and knight f4. Now we're attacking the h5. And also threatening queen b3 check, putting the knight on e6. My goal is to try to push the c pawn. But he plays correctly, e5. I take on h5, bishop h8. If I could win the g7 pawn with my two connected pass pawns, c and d, I should be in really good shape here. But he goes bishop here. Now it gets a little complicated, okay? So I don't know if maybe this rook e4 was the cleanest. I'm not sure. Now, what can you do? Well, g4, queen takes it.
Yeah. Is there a way, is there any profit in looking into that? Can you distract his queen somewhere else? How about now rook to b1?
Yes?
Brian and Jim say d5.
Well, the problem with d5 is my knight and my bishops are out of place. It's a playable move. It's nothing wrong with it, but I'm worried he's going to start pushing f5, f4, and getting counterplay. So my goal is to get my knight into the game as soon as possible. So that's why I go bishop h2 to go knight g3. Now he goes here. Now what do you do?
Knight g3.
Queen e2. Attacking the e4 pawn now. He takes, we take. If he takes, g4 pawn is hanging. That's huge, guys. g4 pawn is en prise. So he plays f5. Now, he wants to take the pawn on d4. What are we going to do? Bishop d6, cementing it, because now if he takes, there's a queen c4 check, winning the bishop. So by placing the bishop on d6 is a monstrous square, attacking the rook and stopping his ideas. So he goes queen f7. He is willing to give up the rook. I don't want it yet. I go here. He goes g3, trying to complicate the matters. Queen e3, control the position. Takes, king takes. Very strong knight I have, strong pawns, but still a bit messy here, not so simple. Now he goes queen f6, hitting on d4 and hitting on h4, hitting simultaneously. What should I do now? What should I do in this position? Well, but my g3 pawn is hanging, you know? Sorry, h4 pawn is hanging if I do that. Rook on h1 you can, but then you're dropping the d4 pawn to queen takes d4.
Maybe queen g3 check.
How about taking the rook first? It's a valuable piece. We take it, huh? Now he takes. Now he's attacking the rook as well. Now we need a good move here. If you take, he's going to take back with the bishop check, and then he's going to take the rook on a1. Rook e1, correct. Protecting everything, okay? Takes.
Knight e6.
c6. Pass pawns, they meant to be pushed. And here this pawn is under attack. There is some potential for him to check and take. So that's why you want to push it. Okay? Now he goes queen d6.
Now push the pawn. c7.
Queen b3 check. Queen b3 check. Checking that king. Now he goes here, rook f7.
Queen b8 check.
Well, queen b8, he'll take you. Don't rush, don't rush. See, important not to rush. Now, what would be a good move here? Now, what can you do here? F4 knight needs to be protected. But maybe instead of protecting it, we can do something else, no? Instead of just protecting it and trying to protect. Ajitya.
What about queen on d5?
Queen takes
Queen
knight.
on d5.
I know, but your knight is hanging. He can take with a check. So I don't know if you really want to do that. Yes?
Queen to g3.
You could do queen g3. What else? What else do you have here? You do have queen g3, but you have something else. Can you move this knight somewhere with some potential pins and attacks on this?
How about to e6?
Yep, perfect. Now you're threatening knight g5. Check.
Take.
Well, you could take, but I just go king e2. Now I'm threatening a very strong knight g5.
Why would he not
Threat.
take the pawn on c6?
Knight d8,
Oh,
attacking and forking. That's why. That's why he cannot take. So he goes bishop e6. And now, what is the idea? Now, what is the idea? What is the idea? Yes.
rook c1?
No.
No? Rook c1.
What about the pin? Yeah, you have here the pinning. Now the only way for him not to lose the rook, he has to go check. But luckily this is just winning because I'm up a pawn and I still have the c6 pawn. So he goes here.
Yeah.
Now q6, king g7, and don't rush. It's still not too late to make a bad move and spoil the position, okay? But you don't want to spoil it.
Right.
Push the mage pawn.
Can you move the king in a little closer? Or who's white's move?
Yeah, white to play and win.
Can he push the pawn and then check where the rook can come back?
That's the winner. Because now if he takes, I have rook check and I take the
Yeah.
bishop. If he takes, I go knight e6 check and I queen. So his only move is to go here, and now you have a chance. You have opportunity to finish this game in a beautiful style. Can you do that? Can you finish the game in a beautiful style? Ben,
Rook takes b6.
bravo Ben. Rook takes b6. Now threatening rook b8. He resigned here because if he captures, go,
You fought the
Knight 4.
check,
Beautiful.
take the rook.
And then the queen pawn. You can't do that.
And that's how this 2600 Grandmaster resigned. Got it?
Oh man, that was great. Was that a game you played?
Yes, yes, yes. This is my game against Grandmaster Baryshpolets. So I push. If he takes, again, we have rook e7, rook c7. So he has to go to f8. Okay? If he goes to f8, then you just take on b6 and knight e6 check. Got it? Very good. Any
all that from tactical patterns you learned, you know, seeing the king
Yeah.
and all that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That,
Okay, so that was the game. You understand the opening part? The King's Indian with h3, okay? So really quickly, let's go over the opening part. So you can see, it got really messy at some point. It probably should have not done that, but see, this is a setup, d6. And this is a good setup for black because this kind of stops the bishop g5 idea, because bishop g5 he can play h6, g5 here because he's still uncastled.
yeah.
So castle h3, knight a6, bishop e3, c6, because now he's planning to play d5, and I think this move is very important here. I think this is a very, very important move here. a3.
Yeah, you talked about that before. So when he pushes to c6, you anticipate d5 and you follow with a3. What is he thinking? He thinks clearly he's playing d5 because he thinks it's better for black. What is his plan? To put his knight on
Yeah.
e4 eventually?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, he also doesn't, if he plays e5, he's worried me playing d5, so that's why he wants to put, this is not a very typical setup. This is not a very typical setup, but it's possible. Okay.
Right. So that's where you go in that position.
I took and play c5. And now I can play b4 and protect the position. Protect my queenside advantage. Knight e4, I took. Yeah, and here white is clearly better. I mean, I made it a little bit more complicated than it should have been. I could have just played knight f4 here. After knight f4, white has a really nice advantage. And it's not that complicated.
Did he have an opportunity maybe earlier? He had his knight on a6.
Well, he could have gone back on b8.
Yeah.
Like here, he could have gone back knight b8
And maybe delayed
and then go here. But I think I'm doing quite well here. This before I think like something like this I take white any day here. Because I do have that queen side majority. All right. Now we're going to do some positions, okay? All right. So this is going to be medium difficulty positions for you to find, okay? So let's start out with the first position. It's white to play and win. This is the end game. This is a very nice end game idea that will help you to improve your game.
Is this from a real game?
Yeah, this is from the game Mamedyarov, Ponomariov. All right. White to play and win. Okay? That's a Mamedyarov, Ponomariov game, okay?
Whoa.
Now, what can you do here? Mhm. Yeah, it looks like, I mean, white may be a little bit better, but it will be extremely difficult to win this position. Extremely, extremely difficult. What can you do?
Black's actually a pawn up, isn't he? But Black could win the pawn, but he must be something more forcing than that. I like
I was looking at that too, but
yeah. I almost look like you gotta do something to get that pawn going. So what's the best way to get it going? Maybe he could deflect his bishop by putting his bishop on B7. And then
Well, it's an idea that you have to use to win a piece. You are actually winning a piece here. So it was a rapid game. It was a rapid game.
But let's see. Like I said, if he goes bishop B7, he could just take. I'm trying to see what that do. The discovered check, the king got to go in there, so you gotta get the sequence right. That's what's gotta happen. Looked like he got to somehow discover attack with the king. I mean, with the.
so if you take the
Yeah, you gotta think. You gotta definitely think first. You gotta think first.
Let's see. All right. Well, look, if you move that bishop down to like E8, is E8 is what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Then he's threatening to discover check and win that bishop down there at the same time. Let's see how would black stop that. Because the king can't,
King can't go up there.
or if he moves away from the pawn so he doesn't get to discover check, then the pawn might could go in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that looks pretty good, but that's not
So, how about that? I think we've reached an agreement.
So what's the move?
Bishop E8.
And if I go bishop d7?
Oh yeah.
that would be.
Nice try, but unfortunately it doesn't quite work.
How he can click it, yeah. Yes, only thing.
If I didn't play that move, yeah, we would have won the game. But unfortunately, I have that move.
So if we go back to the start,
Yeah, that was a simple one. See,
what about this along the same lines? If you take on E4, you're threatening the next move to go bishop F5.
yeah, now that I didn't think about that.
Well, if you take the pawn, he has rook. Oh, yeah. I think he goes king e5.
Okay.
That's going to be very hard to win. Hmm.
Okay. That's what you said before. It's really difficult to get anywhere with that.
Yeah, if you don't get something right away, it's going to be very challenging to win this.
You're right, but it's a lot of things, obstacles. That's why you with GM and we whatever we are. But it's like
Yeah, but even for GM, it's not so easy to see this. So once again, this is the game Mamedyarov, Ponomariov from 2016 rapid match. Okay.
So let me think. The forcing moves I see.
Yeah, I mean, forcing moves are checks or moves that you make that they force things. Okay. So what do you see?
What about? Can we get away with just pushing the pawn right now? That's if he takes with the bishop, then I can move the bishop, white bishop, and have a check.
But then you lost the pawn and what else?
So you're thinking about pushing the pawn, right?
If I push the pawn, he takes with the bishop.
Takes with the bishop. What do you do?
I take. Now I take on E4. That's check to him. No, I don't think so.
It is tough. Like, if you do that, that's going to be what it is. It looks like we want to get a discovered attack on him somehow, but we got to do it the right way. And the rook's on the dark square, so the bishop can't go back and hit it nowhere or nothing.
Did we look at D7 and then moving the bishop out of the way?
Well, they were discussing, but they didn't follow it through. So you guys looked at d7, right? Pushing. Now he takes, and this is a very important idea here. You can do. Very, very important moment.
Oh, well, then he can take the pawn, and that'll be check.
Yeah, but
and then go back.
yeah, but you can take on h, so you're still not gonna win this.
Win that piece. Okay, I thought he could pin the bishop. You know, the king step back, but the king can step forward, the knight can step back.
Now what do you do?
I don't know if this has been suggested. Bishop a4 with the plan of rook b7.
Bishop a4 check, suggested by Ben. Check. If he stops away, moves away, you're going to take the bishop. So he has to stay with it, right?
Right.
And now
You can pin.
you can pin him. And now the, the very important thing this bishop is doing here, guys. Aha! Guarding this
Remember
square.
being able to guard that.
Otherwise, he would go here and protect.
I kind of thought that, but I couldn't get it in that. That he had to pin him somehow, but the intermezzo check gave him the
Yeah.
control.
Absolutely. Strong. Strong, Ben. Excellent job. Yeah. Very nice. Moving forward now. Everybody got this?
So, yeah.
So once again, to demonstrate, we push, we have to push. He takes, check, and pin and win.
Mm.
I missed that the king had to stay near the bishop.
Yeah, because you know the pieces. It doesn't look like it's under attack till you get the check. You see what I'm saying? That's what flips everything around. Oh, I didn't look that deep.
All right. White to play and win from a game failure, Bosiocic. 2016. White to play and win. What to do here? White to play and win. If you take now, unfortunately, you lose your rook. And
You could take the pawn for free and the knight's still under attack, but where does it go?
Over a6. My first thought was to just let him take the rook, and with the idea to take his knight and then get that pawn through, but I think he can move his rook up to the c8 and stop us.
well, if you go here, he has this,
Yeah,
Yeah, but couldn't he take the other pawn?
and he goes here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But it was a thought though. I just thought take the pawn and leave the knight under attack, see where it's got to go. It didn't look like it's got that many good spaces to get to. What's the pawns looking like? 1, 2, 3, 4. So black had an extra pawn anyway, so.
Well, does it work if you take the knight with the rook? He takes you with the pawn. You retake with the pawn check. And maybe no, he just goes in front of the pawn.
What's the suggestion?
Kind of thinking along the same suggestion.
No one. If you find the solution, you're gonna win right away. You're gonna see it right away.
bishop b4 check. And then you
Yeah, but he has knight d5.
yeah. You said these were medium hard level?
This is medium, yeah.
Okay.
The chat has come to a consensus.
What's the consensus?
Rook d4.
And chat is correct.
Ah, good job, chat.
Chat is correct. Rook d4, guys. Hitting the rook. Okay? Now,
I kind of thought about that, but they look like does black have time to get out of there?
now, if he moves, you just take the knight. And if he takes, check. Okay?
Because of the 10-5 check.
Yeah.
Now, okay, well, if he doesn't take and moves the rook, who could he move?
You always have that check. Take the knight. Can he move? He can't move the knight to defend his rook anymore, can he?
Yeah, I guess you're right. He just had to go for 10. That was too powerful.
And now win a piece and wins the game. All right. We're going to do one more, guys. The last position, okay, for this class. So this was very neat. Rook d4 move, okay? Just move it away, attacking the rook, and on f6.
I thought the rook could just move, but like I say, even if you don't move, you check. That's the point. The power of check. Both of these have been the power of check. Just throws everything, you know. You looking at something, but you ain't seeing the depth of it. Or at least I'm not seeing the depth of it. But the GM can see the depth of it.
All right, let's focus, guys. Let's focus on this now. Let's go. White to play. Moiseenko, Popov. Moiseenko, Popov. Well, black has two rooks, and it looks very comfortable in this position. But white still has ideas. White still has ideas in this position, and he's going to use these ideas to win. How? How can you do that?
I think we ought to hit one of them rooks, like pawn thinks that he need to make the pawn move before he makes the other move. Let's see what could be most beneficial.
Maybe queen F4.
Well, queen f4 is an idea. Something better. Something better you need to do.
Well, I was thinking hitting the other rook with queen to h3.
Yeah, you could, but let's look at something else, some other idea, maybe a break or something.
The pawn. You know.
Look for a break because you want to open up the position of opponent's king. Okay.
Right. So that
So-
looks like G.
6, right?
Right.
Now,
So then
if he
you can
takes, what do you do?
go down there and mate him.
Mate.
Right. So he can't take that way.
So he has to take this way, right?
Right, and now he's created that white square weakness where you can. Oh, let's see.
Maybe now you're queen H3.
Now you want to activate your queen.
Right.
What do you do? How you activate your queen now?
Maybe queen to E2, because if you go the other way, he can move the rook over to the file. But if you go there, then you threaten the pin and be hitting the rook and the pawn and all that at the same time. But let's see, what would he do?
Queen e5, perfect. Now queen e5 is setting up a very important queen e6 check, winning the rook. And the way the rooks are, they're not connected. If they were connected, they would have been fine for black, but the rooks are not connected.
Right.
So that's why whatever he does, he's going to lose this rook because now you're threatening check and take. So for example, he goes here,
Right.
you go check. He takes here, you go check, and pick it up. Got it?
Yeah.
So that's why it's very strong, okay? All right, so that's idea for you to remember. So again, you have to look, when you have a queen in this kind of position, you have to open up the position, okay? So that's why if his rook was on a better spot, then
they were connected, they would be.
then black might be actually winning if the rook's, if this rook is like on d8, black is winning here. So the fact the rook is misplaced, you go g6. If he takes, it's mate.
Right,
So he has
so
to take
they
the other
force
way,
that other
and
way.
now queen e6. Now, no matter what he does, he's losing his rook. And once he loses the rook, he is very likely to lose the game. Okay? All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending this class. We're going to take a little break and get ready for the next class at around 7:30. Okay?
Okay.
Right.